So do you also want to auto-analyze the volunteer feedback? Then this video is definitely for you. So hello all, welcome back to Pabbly Connect, and in this video we are going to understand how to build an AI agent to auto-analyze Google Forms volunteer feedback. So like you, I also used to manually analyze all the volunteer feedbacks, but this is such a time-consuming task. So to solve this problem, I've simply created this amazing automation where what is going to happen is that as soon as I receive the volunteer feedback into my Google Forms, automatically my AI agent, which is OpenAI, is going to analyze the feedback, and further we can add the analysis report into my Google Sheets. So to do this, we are simply going to create a connection between Google Forms, my AI agent, which is OpenAI, and Google Sheets. And to create this connection without knowing any programming or coding language, we are going to use Pabbly Connect. It is an amazing automation software. So if you also want to create this amazing automation for your own business, then for that you have to come with me towards my screen. Welcome to my screens. In this video, I'll show you how to build an AI agent to auto-analyze Google Forms volunteer feedback. So over here, if you also use Google Forms to collect the volunteer feedback, then this video can be really helpful for you. Because what is going to happen is that whenever a volunteer submits the feedback form, automatically the details of the same will be added right over here into my spreadsheet. Not only this, the analysis of the feedback will also be added right over here in my spreadsheet, that too without any manual intervention, all with the help of an amazing automation. So if you also want to know how to do this, then for that you have to watch this tutorial till the end. So to do this, we are simply going to open a new tab, and which is going to look for the landing page of Pabbly Connect simply by searching pabbly.com/connect in my browser. And now it is opening the landing page of Pabbly Connect, and over here we are going to get two options. One is sign in and the another one is sign up for free. So if you are a new user, you can click on this sign up for free, and you're going to get 100 of tasks free every month to explore the application. But over here I am an existing user, so I'm simply going to click on this button right over here which says sign in. And once we're just going to click on this sign in, it is opening all Pabbly apps, and over here you can see all the tools and applications offered by Pabbly. But in today's video, we are going to use Pabbly Connect because we are connecting different applications. So I'm simply going to click on this access now right over here to access my Pabbly Connects account. And once we're just going to click on this access now, it is opening my dashboard. And to get started with the automation, we simply have to click on this button which says create workflow. And now it is asking me for the workflow name and the folder I want to save the workflow in. So over here I want to save the workflow in this folder which says automations, and on my dashboard you can see multiple folders which I have already created in which I save my workflows. So if you also want to create a new folder, you can go towards this create new folder button and create your own. I'm just going to save in this folder only which is automations, and I'm just going to name my workflow as AI agent to auto analyze Google Forms volunteer feedback, and then we are simply going to click on this button right over here which says create. And once we're just going to click on this create, it is opening the most important window of our automation, which is our workflow window. So this is the most important window because we have trigger and action in this. Trigger and actions are the two main principles on which our workflow is going to run. Trigger means when this happens, and action means do this. So by this you can understand that the actions are response towards the commands given by a trigger, and that's the particular reason that we can have only a single trigger but multiple actions following the commands of a trigger in a particular workflow. And to get started, we are simply going to select our trigger application. So for my trigger application, I'm simply going to select it as Google Forms. So I'm just going to search for Google Forms and select it right over here. And now for the trigger event, we are simply going to select it as new response received. And now it is giving me a webhook URL. So we are just going to use this same webhook URL in order to create a connection between our Google Forms and our Pabbly Connects workflow. So what we are just going to do is I'm simply going to copy this webhook URL, and then I'm just going to open my Google Forms. And after opening my Google Forms, you have to keep in mind that the last question should always be the required one. This is a really important step. And after doing this, I'm just going to go towards this responses, and over here you can see that I'm just going to get the option of view in sheets right over here because I've already linked my Google Forms account with my Google Sheets. But if you haven't linked your Google Forms account with your Google Sheets, you're definitely going to get the option of link with sheets right over here. You simply have to click on this link with sheets, and automatically your Google Forms account will be linked with your Google Sheets. And then you have to simply do the test submission and get the details of the form submission right over here in your spreadsheet. And after you get the details of the form submission right over here in your spreadsheet, you simply have to go towards this extensions, add-ons, and then you have to go towards this get add-ons. And after coming over here towards this get add-ons, you simply have to add an extension in the spreadsheet which is Pabbly Connect Webhooks. So I'm just going to simply search for Pabbly Connect Webhooks, and as you can see that over here I have already installed this extension. So that is the reason that after opening it, it is giving me the option of uninstall. But if you haven't installed this extension, you're definitely going to get the option of install right over here. So you can simply install your extension right from here. And once you're just going to install your extension, you have to refresh your spreadsheet. So it is a really important step to add the extension and refresh the spreadsheet, because if you won't refresh your spreadsheet, you're not going to get the option of Pabbly Connect Webhooks right over here in your extensions tab. And after getting this Pabbly Connect Webhooks option, we simply have to go towards this Pabbly Connect Webhooks and then towards this initial setup. And now it is asking me for the webhook URL and the trigger column. So we are simply going to paste the URL which we copied from our workflow. And now for the trigger column, I'm just going to enter my trigger column, which is H. So the trigger column will be your final data column on which of the data is added, the whole of that row will be sent towards your webhook URL. So if you want to send 5 details towards your webhook URL, you have to enter your trigger column as E. If you want to send 4, you have to enter it as D. So the trigger column will be according to your own spreadsheet and according to your own Google Forms. So over here I have these many of details, so that is the reason that I have kept my trigger column as H right over here. And this was also the reason why we made the last question as required 1. Alright, so now after doing this, I'm simply going to click on this button which says submit, and once we're just going to click on this submit, it is saying setup configured successfully. With this, we have successfully created a connection between our Google Forms account and our Pabbly Connects workflow. So now over here, after doing this, it is saying waiting for a webhook response, and in the notes it is saying do a test submission / record. So to do the test submission, I'm just going to open my spreadsheet, and over here you can see the button of send test. So I'm simply going to click on this button which says send test, and it is saying test data sent successfully. So automatically it is sent these details towards my workflow. So I'm just going to open my workflow, and over here you can see that Pabbly has captured my response. So yes, you can see all the details captured right over here, and with this we have successfully completed our trigger step. But not only this, you also have to keep in mind that you have to go towards this extensions Pabbly Connect Webhooks, and over here you're going to get the button of send on event. So it is a really important step to switch on this button right from here, because if you won't switch on this button, whenever a new event is going to occur in your spreadsheet, automatically the workflow is not going to get triggered. All right, so now after doing this, we are just going to move on forward. Now I'm just going to set up an AI agent to auto analyze Google Forms volunteer feedback. So to set up this AI agent, I'm simply going to select my action application as OpenAI. So I'm just going to search for OpenAI right over here, and as you can see the same, so I'm simply going to select it. And now for the action event, I'm simply going to select it as ChatGPT and click on this connect, and now it is asking me to add a new connection or select an existing connection. So if you have already connected your OpenAI account with your Pabbly Connects workflow, you can simply click on this select existing connection and then save. But if you haven't, you have to follow me, click on add a new connection, and now it is asking me for the token. And to get this token, we are simply going to follow the help text, and it is saying kindly visit your OpenAI API key page to get the API key that you need to enter here. So I'm simply going to go towards my OpenAI API key page to get the API key. And after opening this page, we simply have to go towards this create new secret key button, and now I'm just going to name my key as this, which is volunteer feedback. And now it is asking me to select the project, so I'm simply going to select my project and click on this green button which says create secret key. And now my key has been created, so I'm simply going to copy this key, and then we're going to paste this key right over here in our workflow. And after pasting this key, I'm simply going to click on this button which says save. And once we're just going to click on this save, with this we have successfully connected our OpenAI account with our Pabbly Connects workflow. And now it is asking me to select the AI model, so I'm simply going to select my AI model, which is GPT-4. You can select any another of your choice. And now it is asking me to enter the prompt, so I'm simply going to enter my prompt right over here. And as you can see that I've simply entered my prompt right over here, and I'm just going to enter the details of the form right over here. So in order to analyze the same, so over here I'm just going to enter the details, but we're not going to enter the details manually or by copy pasting it, but instead we're going to map it. So you must be wondering what is mapping. So mapping is a method by Pabbly which means inserting the data from the previous step. And as you know, our previous step was the trigger step where we selected Google Forms as our trigger application. So we are simply going to map the details from the response of our trigger application only, and as soon as we begin to map these details, automatically my details will turn dynamic and change with every new response received. So first I'm just going to map this volunteer name right over here, and then we're just going to move on forward one by one. Now I'm just going to map the email right over here. We're just going to move on further. I'm just going to map the event name right over here. We're just going to move on further. I'm just going to map the ratings right over here. We're just going to move on further. It is saying what went well, so I'm just going to map the same. I'm just going to map all of these details one by one right over here. And once I've done mapping, I'm just going to move on forward and click on save and send test request. So now after mapping this, I'm simply going to click on this save and send test request, and now using these details automatically my AI agent is going to generate me the summary and the analysis. And as you can see that my AI agent has successfully generated me the analysis, and I'm just going to add the same analysis into my Google Sheets. So to do this, we are simply going to add another action step, and now for the action application, I'm simply going to select it as Google Sheets. And then for the action event, I'm simply going to select it as update cell value. So I'm just going to search for update cell value and select it. And now we're simply going to click on this button which says connect, and now it is asking me to add a new connection or select an existing connection. So if you have already connected your Google Sheets account with your Pabbly Connects workflow, you can simply click on this select existing connection and then save. But if you haven't, you have to follow me, click on add a new connection, and now we have to click on this blue button which says sign in with Google. And once we're just going to click on this blue button, Pabbly is asking me to select my Gmail account. So I'm simply going to select my Gmail account, with the help of which I'm just going to connect my Google Sheets. And after selecting the Gmail account, Pabbly is asking me for some permissions. So what we're just going to do is I'm simply going to click on this allow and give Pabbly all the permissions it is asking for, because my data is secure with Pabbly. And once we're just going to click on this allow, with this we have successfully connected our Google Sheets account with our Pabbly Connects workflow. Now it is asking me to select the spreadsheet. So I'm simply going to select my spreadsheet, which is volunteer feedback form responses. And after selecting the spreadsheet, I'm just going to select the sheet and move on further. Now it is saying enter the range of the sheet that needs to be updated. So over here you can see the range of the sheet that needs to be updated is this I2. So I'm just going to simply enter I2 right over here. So I'm just going to enter I2. So right now it is I2, but with every new response received, it is going to change. It will be I3, 4, 5, 6 and so on. But you can see that I is going to remain constant, only the row is going to change. So what we're just going to do is I'm just going to keep the I as static right over here, but we are just going to simply map the row index. And after doing this, we are just going to simply move on further, and now I'm just going to map the value, which is the analysis which my AI agent generated. And after doing all of this, I'm simply going to click on this blue button which says save and send test request. And yes, as soon as we're just going to click on this save and send test request, you can see that we have received the positive response that we've successfully added the analysis into our Google Sheets. So I'm just going to open my Google Sheets, and we're just going to check for the analysis added. So over here, I'm just going to check for the analysis. For that, I'm just going to look for the I2, and as you can see, the analysis has been added right over here. Over here, you can see sentiment clarification, which is positive. The volunteer test user found value in the team's organization, the welcoming atmosphere, and the enjoyable, impactful task of tree planning at fundraiser gala. The volunteer indicated that there was no areas of improvement, noting that everything was well planned. So yes, you can see that with this, we have successfully completed our workflow. And now whenever a new response is going to submit using this form, automatically this flow is going to get triggered, and then OpenAI is going to analyze that same feedback and then add the analysis in my spreadsheet. All of this is going to happen in backend. We don't have to come back in again to our workflow to click on save and send test request. So now go try this amazing automation yourself, and while trying, if you have any questions related to the video or the workflow, you can directly comment on this video. See you in the next video with many more automation tips, everyone. Thank you for watching. So not only these applications, but with the help of Pabbly Connect, you can connect many more applications. So now if you have any doubts, you can reach us at support@pabbly.com. If you have any queries, you can reach us at forum.pabbly.com. And if you have any pricing related issues, you can follow this URL. And now go try this amazing automation for your own business too, because right now we are offering a free trial of Pabbly Connect.